what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a value conversation, Gen X spoken word. So it's still a little bit early. We don't have too many people here, but that's all right. As you know, we're going to do what we need to do, regardless of who shows up or who does not show up. Let's go ahead and take a moment here and let the music flow. We'll get started in just a minute. All right? Fair use. All right, we'll just pick up people as we go, folks. It's about that time, so go ahead and get into this. All right, so again, welcome to a value conversation, Gen X spoken word. You know who I am, you know what we do, so let's go ahead and get into it. The topic for tonight, as you can see here in the upper right-hand corner, maybe left on your side, Black conservative Trump voting friends. Now, I've been having this conversation for a while with some folks that I know who have been in the military with me, and some folks that I've met through other folks in the military who all have the same experience that I'm going to speak of right now. And that is having one of the folks in the crowd who looks like you, talks like you, but votes differently. Now, again, everybody's got their own perspective of how they're going to vote, but ask yourself this question. Would you really vote with folks who are looking to more or less undermine, or dare I say, completely abolish the perspective that you own? So again, that's the topic for tonight. Now, as of right now, there's not too many people, or hardly anyone in here at all, except myself. But as you know, as I've said before, it doesn't matter. I've got a lot of hours that I need to make up. So whether you're here for it or you're not, the information is going to make its way through regardless, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. So I was trying to decide what I want to do first. Did I want to go ahead and start the show and just go through the slides as I normally do, or should I say go through the tabs, highlighting the information that I have, all the offensive, the grave injustices, and so forth. But then I thought, you know what? Nah, before we get into it, let's take a look at some of the things that we generally have our disagreements on that are not, someone tried to say that what I was presenting was without context. So I want anyone watching right now, take a look at what I'm presenting and tell me if there's anything out of context that I am leaving. All right. So I put a short out the other day that I called Find the Racist Political Party. Now, funny enough, I listed 19 separate offenses that was committed by this administration. A lot of them within this current administration, one or two maybe from the last administration. But as it stands right now, again, this is the information that I am presenting that you see that has been found to have been committed in this current administration that we know of. Some may drift back and forth, but just tell me, again, as the title says, find the lie. Okay, putting independence aside, what of the two remaining political parties has not, and I repeat, okay, putting aside independence aside, what of the two remaining political parties has not declared Black history racist? Well, we know it wasn't the Democratic Party. Declared Black history divisive. Again, we know it was not the Democratic Party. So I'm just going to go ahead and just give the answer to everyone. Everything that you see right here is what the Republican Party has done either in this current administration or its last administration. And both administrations falling under Donald Trump. So again, find the lie in here if you can. And when we finish going through this, we're going to recircle and come back to our Black conservative Trump voting friends. Rescinded funding for DEI initiatives. Removed MLK Jr. Juneteenth from free national park days. Shuttered the Minority Business Development Agency after touting support for Black business. Removed the plaques honoring Black World War II soldiers in Marburton, Netherlands. Criminalized the civil rights movement. Accused just Black voting districts of unsubstantiated voter fraud. Created redistricting plans to reduce Black voting districts due to Project 2025, motivating more people to show up at the polls. Removed the prohibition clause of segregation on government contracts from Executive Order 11264 within 24 hours of Trump taking office a second time. Gutted the DOJ Civil Rights Division. Bastardized the EEOC, claiming white males should come to the office to file for reverse discrimination. Infused the U.S. government with known white supremacists. Cut ties with the SPLC due to constant reminders of racist acts Trump policies and Trump cabinet members were affiliated with. Befouled the integrity of the Oval Office by broadcasting Charlie Kirk's racist podcast out of the White House. And this was done by the Vice President, J.D. Vance, or as I refer to him as being J.D. Kirk. Desecrated the sanctity of Air Force Two by flying Charlie Kirk's white supremacist carcass on it. Yes, this was done if people have forgotten. So we'll stop right here for a moment and I'll say one more time. Take a minute, check it out, and let me know if you find the lie. Now, if anyone is being truthful, you know that there is no lie that I'm presenting right now. This is all fact. I'll go as far as saying that I had someone in one of my YouTube posts, actually, no, two people had the audacity to say that I was either telling lies or I was using things out of context. Now, what can be taken out of context when you're pulling information directly from sources? Now, although I have not listed them here, I may go ahead and make sure that a few of these, I'll pull up the web page information that pertains to each particular one, or maybe a few of them. Then again, I do have a posting page that I never use on YouTube, I think, where you can just have your posts or whatnot, just whatever you got on your mind. I might do it there. I think, yeah, that's a better choice. I'm going to do that there. And then I want people to watch the folks who gravitate there and accuse me of lying. Now, again, this is information that I've pulled directly from all current events since Donald Trump's inauguration, hence why I say find the lie. If you look closely, there's nothing in here that will indicate me telling you any falsehoods or mistruths. So let's go ahead and continue on to the second slide. Oh yeah, there's more. All right, continuing on with our game of find the lie. So let me back this up for a moment. So putting independence aside, what of the two remaining political parties has not denied promotions to qualified Black service members, fired Black and white qualified service members, and replaced them with unqualified, unexperienced white male service members, wrongfully accused Haitian immigrants of eating house pets, greenlit segregation on federal contracts, passed law claiming Black history is racist, divisive, and revisionist? So I think a bit of this might be a repeat, but we'll go ahead and keep through it anyway, just as a reminder of a few things that we read on the previous page. Given aid and comfort to the legacy of a white nationalist, Charlie Kirk, created preference for Christians due to recognizing there are scores of Christians who will vote if Jesus' name is invoked. This has been proven. Created policies to attack just blue states. Bragged openly about taking away free speech. Recently gotten approval to abandon due process for immigrants after stripping them of their procedurally granted TPS, temporarily protected status. Authorized the kidnapping of a sovereign president of a country. Yes, America did that. Authorized the bombing of sovereign vessels in international waters, claiming they were carrying drugs minus any proof being provided. Taking control of a sovereign country's oil production after kidnapping its president. Authorized the deportation of people with zero criminal infractions. Authorized the deportation of people with zero reasons to be deported. Authorized the deportation of people to countries they've never set foot in. And again, independence still aside, one of the things that you just cannot let fly, as I said here in the writing, let's definitely not forget which of the two remaining political parties did not elect a racist felon known pedophile associate to the office of the presidency. So where in here can anyone accuse me of lying? You literally can't. But of course, as I said in this post, I was accused of shading the truth on top of things. Now, one thing I realized is that no matter how much of the truth that will be presented, anyone who believes in the words of either Donald Trump or even Charlie Kirk are always going to make the statement, oh, you're just losing context the way you present things. No, I'm not losing context. What's happening here is that the individual is upset because they are not winning the argument because of unarguable facts. There's no need for me to go back and forth with someone when the facts are right there in front. Or as I like to say, the proof is in the output. I don't have to do much to show that you lie. All I have to do is find the proof that already exists. So the thing here is that I'm not trying to win over anyone who is pro-Trump, pro-Charlie Kirk. No, not at all. I'm just merely showing how far these folks will go in denying the reality that sits right in front of them. So I challenge anyone to say that I'm telling lies right now. I've got the slide right here, and I think what I will do is on YouTube, on the commentary page, I'll post this information again and just leave it there for anyone to, if they want to, take exception with it. It's not like I'm hiding anything. I say this too many times. I don't think people are catching on, so I'm going to say it again, and I will continue saying it. Facts don't choose sides. People do. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and do what I like to do from now on. Let's put our circle up. Now remember, as I said before, this circle is going to be the representation of everything you know, believe you know, or think you know. All right, so say it with me or just follow along. If anything, roll it back and hear it for yourself. Inside this circle exists my anecdotal, lived experiences and exposures I base my life on. Just because some of the things John says makes me feel inadequate, although that's not the case, or John is lying, which will not be the case either, it doesn't mean that he's trying to make me look foolish. It simply means he's telling me something I am not familiar with. So take that with a grain of salt. Anytime I start saying something that you are unfamiliar about, anything that you think I may be lying about, put this back up and tell yourself, okay, just because I'm not familiar with what's being said doesn't mean John's trying to make me look like an idiot or he's lying. I'm just unfamiliar with what's being discussed. That's what I want you to keep in mind. Again, this is not about me trying to more or less convince you, because the facts are still going to be here once I'm done. You have the option to take this information as it is and see for yourself. But when you do see for yourself, at least let someone point you in the right direction. That's what I'm trying to do. Again, facts don't choose sides. People do. So I think I'm going to go ahead and share the entire screen because I have no audio now. All right, so to kick this off, so when we're talking to our Black conservative Trump voting friends, the first thing you have to ask the question is, do you not realize what's happening around you? Do you not see the contradiction in your whole existence? Now, I say this in the means to lead up to as such. Just hear me out. How is it that you can have a Black conservative Trump voting friend who will tell you that I'm all about civil rights? Oh, yes. Go Rosa Parks. Martin Luther King, he had a dream, right? Hey, we're living the dream. Or they also talk about Malcolm X. These Black conservatives will big up civil rights, but then turn around and vote with people who are trying to abolish them and completely eradicate civil rights of anyone of color, primarily Black folks. So then you have to ask the question, what are you doing? Over here, you're talking about your support for civil rights, but then you turn around and walk to the voting booth and you vote with folks who are trying to completely eradicate it. But there's always some type of rationale that comes behind it, some hemming and hawing that you get, backstroking, whatever. And then comes the countless back and forth. If they post this stuff on social media about every time we try and get a Black person in power, you're always trying to tear them down. But yet you always want to see someone who looks like you come to an office of prominence. And wait a minute, how am I going to support a person who is talking about civil rights being a big priority, but then turn around and watch them vote against that? Followed by the disingenuous commentary, well, you wanted someone of Black prominence, and now look at you, you're tearing them down. Stop the shit, pardon my language. No one is going to sit here of any good sense and vote for that. Notice I said of any good sense. There are three things that I routinely say that are a detriment to our society right now. But if I look at society as a whole, the first thing would be Christianity and the continual lies that you find from this. I don't understand why it's so difficult for people to understand, especially Blacks, that in 1455, Roman Catholic Church sanctioned slavery. Therefore, taking control of the land of Africans and enslaving the Africans for being infidels. And this was the justification used for the transatlantic slave trade. The second thing, manosphere. As much as I speak with these guys, I go on the platforms, I discuss things in the panels with them. I'm not going to badmouth any of these individuals. No, individually, no. But I'll say the whole concept of the manosphere is absolute trash. And lies on top of that. Now, if you were not aware, before this whole concept of patriarchy existed, the world was matrilineal. Now, I've been promising a show on that, but more often than not, I get sidetracked, and there you go. But I think I need to go ahead and make sure that show gets made. So understand that before there was a patriarchy, there was the matriarchy. And there were more female gods that were worshipped than people know before male gods became commonplace and female gods kind of drifted into the wayside. But anyway, Christianity, manosphere, as a society as a whole, that is what I find to be problematic and detrimental. Now, if I were to look at this from the perspective of Black society, the three things that I find detrimental: Christianity, the manosphere, and foundational Black Americans. Now, this isn't the first time that I've said this, but I'll go into this more in a separate show. But understand that linking that together, one thing that people don't know about the manosphere is that it is one of the 7 spheres of influence that you have the 7 Mountains Mandate, which is a Christian doctrine, or should I say a Christian extremist doctrine that looks to bring the kingdom of fictional Jesus Christ to planet Earth. And in order to do that, they have to control 7 specific spheres of influence. 7. A few of them would be media, government, the military, arts and entertainment. Did I mention media already? Probably did. Religion and family. Now, these are just some of the areas that I can think of off the top of my head that actively has been influential and what people fail to realize is going on around them right now. Yeah, I think I do need to do a show about the 7 Mountains Mandate as well. But getting back to that, the manosphere falls under media. And we see how prevalent and crippling manosphere content has become. It's prevalent. I said from the very beginning, manosphere content was nothing more than white male conservative victimhood. But when it made its way over to the Black side of the house, now what you have is white male conservative victimhood in blackface. Now, I stand on that 10 toes down. That is the concept of the manosphere. That is what I see. Now, I'm not the only one, but I'm going to make it known right now. So remember this face. All right, so going back at it again, we've got our Black conservative friend. We ask the questions, what are you doing? How are you going to be for civil rights, but then vote against it with the people who are trying to take it away? More or less, who is it that you are coalescing with? Who are you hanging out with? Let me show you. People who are still celebrating this racially agitating, racist, sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot, also known as a lying ass liar. None other than Charlie Kirk. Nothing irritates me more than watching people, not just Black, but people in general, talk about a guy who routinely not spoke truth, but distorted facts. And the only way you would catch on to what Charlie Kirk was saying is if you have an understanding of history. Now, I'm not going to claim to be a history major of any sort, but I still like to make sure that before I speak on anything, I've got a good background. And what I realize is that if you are not familiar with the history of your country or happenings with it, then you will find yourself taken for a ride, whether it be by white influencers or black influencers. If you have no concept of your history, you will believe damn near anything. And that's something that Charlie Kirk routinely got away with. Even in death, there's still people looking at the words that he spoke and saying, Charlie Kirk spoke the truth. No, he did. No, he did not. He spewed lies. But if you're not familiar with your history, you'll never catch it. Anyway, moving on. Turning Point USA. So when he was 18 or 19, somewhere in that time frame, what people don't realize is that Charlie Kirk really believed in separation of church and state. And then he was approached by a multimillionaire whose name I can't think of right now, but rest assured, when I have it, I'll make sure I post it for you, who made him the face of what he was up until the day of his death. Young conservatives, they needed a rejuvenation. And Charlie Kirk was viewed to be that person. But not only did he get young white conservatives, he also found success with young black conservatives as well, of course, by way of Candace Owens. Now, what people don't seem to realize here is that Turning Point is a gateway drug for harder extremism. No matter how many times information is pointed out saying that Turning Point has a history of racism, everyone overlooks it. Oh, you're taking that out of context. So I've put this article out on a few shows here and there, but I'm just going to run through it briefly again, just to give folks the opportunity to see for themselves, if you haven't, the list of infractions that Turning Point has racked up for their racism. Former TP USA National Field Director Crystal Clanton sent text messages to another TP USA employee that said, I hate black people. Like, fuck them all. I hate blacks. End of story. Kirk had previously said about Clanton, Turning Point needs more crystals. So does America. Last year, Clanton was hired as a clerk on the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals for Chief Judge William Pryor. Now you see here, this article is from, I want to say it's 2024. Okay, it was updated the 3rd of April, 2024. But nonetheless, again, we're just looking at the history. All right, so she was reported, nothing happened. But let's go ahead and read this one also. After reportedly firing Clanton from when her racist text message became public, Kirk hired Shiley Grumman and Troy Meeker to replace her. Huffington Post reported that Grumman had written several anti-gay and racist tweets that included the N-word, and that Meeker had also tweeted an anti-black slur. Huffington Post also reported that former Turning Point USA Midwest Regional Manager Timon Prax was pushed out because of his record of using bigoted language in tweets and text, including racist jokes and messages that made fun of black people and referred to them as slaves. Look, here's the running list. A running list, a history of all of Turning Point's offenses. But then you see pictures of Charlie Kirk with Candace Owens and black folks around them at, I think they call this gathering was called Blexit. Well, they say this is black exit from the Democratic Party. And you have to sit there and wonder, how do all of these culturally disconnected black folks end up in this space? And I kept thinking to myself, what is the common thing that brings them all together? And I realized what it was. It was Christianity. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever given any thought to this here, but when you look at the perspective of Christianity and how blacks come into it, this was something that was forced on the slave population. Let's put it this way. The whole concept of Jesus, if you have your head on straight and if you deconstruct it from Christianity, the whole aspect of Jesus was never to lead blacks to freedom. More so, it was to make blacks comfortable in their mental slave pits. Pretty much it. Nobody is going anywhere. The clergy was one of the biggest benefactors from slavery, from running plantations to include even selling slaves to save colleges. Georgetown has this type of history. But I don't want to break off too far. Let's stay within the zone of where we are, right? So getting back to it, Charlie Kirk, again, lying ass liar. Turning Point USA, breeding ground for future racism. Enough said. All right, so we have Representative Byron Donalds. We all know he's a Republican who does big speak, chest out for Donald Trump. But yet, someone in his own party, James Fishback, I guess they're both running for the same office. And this is going to be coming up later on in the year. Fishback called him being Byron Donalds, a DEI hire. Now, if anyone remembers what DEI stood for, diversity, equity, and inclusion, it became a pejorative. Didn't earn it. I want to keep that in mind. Didn't earn it. But Byron Donalds is the same conservative as them, right? He's the same Republican Party member, right? But apparently, now that they're running for the same office, Fishback calls him DEI. But the reason Fishback did this is because Donalds had called him racist. And to be fair, yes, Fishback had been saying a lot of racist shit. More or less to the point to where he was aligning, or will not admit, that his commentary aligns with that of Nick Fuentes. We know a popular white supremacist who has had dinner at the White House with Donald Trump and Kanye West, who is not ashamed of his racism and will even invoke the name of fictional Jesus to give it that panache when he uses the N-word or whatever else he chooses to, when he's slurring blacks, immigrants, Hispanics, the LGBTQ community, whatever. He is unabashed about it, and he believes that Jesus is on his side when he does this. I'm speaking of Nick Fuentes. But getting back to the matter here, you've got two guys in the same political party, one black, one white, but of course, the black guy is DEI hire. Two of the top Republican candidates for governor met face-to-face in Lake City Saturday afternoon. James Fishback stood outside of a campaign event for Representative Byron Donalds with a megaphone and a crowd of supporters calling for a GOP governor's race debate. "Hey, Byron, remember me? You called me a racist. Remember that?" Fishback yelled through a megaphone. "DEI hire. Didn't earn it, Byron." Donalds was walking into his third campaign stop of the day in Lake City. He started the morning speaking to voters in Jacksonville, then Lake Butler, before heading to Columbia County. So we see he put on that cheese smile and just shoved it off. Hey, but still, if we are supposed to be united as party members, we're supposed to be shoulder to shoulder. Why do we have this DEI hire stuff going back and forth? Even more so, why is the racism coming into play? Because that's what the GOP is. The GOP are the racists that were left over when the Southern Democrats started being more for the black population in the mid-'60s. And this is the switch that everyone refused to believe. Yes, the Democrats were the bad guys. They were the slavers back in the day. But come 1964-65, when it was seen that supporting civil rights was going to be a winning ticket, those who did not want to stay with the Democratic Party because they were starting to show favor towards blacks, immigrants, Hispanics, you name it, left and went to the Republican Party. Those who did not want to be around racists and wanted to more or less assure that everyone had the opportunity to live the American dream and had the same opportunities, left the Republican Party and went to the Democratic Party. This has been explained. This has been demonstrated, but yet you still have black conservatives and white supremacists who say that, oh, that's a myth. Even Donaldson has made statements such as, when Jim Crow was still about, blacks were more together. No, when Jim Crow was about, blacks were more together and united because there was a higher chance of them being murdered. Yes, I used the word. All right. I'm grown. I use words. I don't smurder or none of this type of nonsense. It was murder, and that's what happened to blacks. Charlie Kirk famously said, packs of roving blacks are going on the countryside attacking whites. That's the truth. Or should I say that's a fact? No, it was not a fact. A fact was that you had packs of roving whites for almost a century, going to the back of the hills, looking for runaway slaves or just looking for slaves, regardless of what their status was, paper or not, maiming, raping, and killing. But you never hear any information about that. You never hear that brought up when we talk about a history of murder. I did a video. I asked the question, did blacks have a history of violence in America? Or did whites come from a lineage of global murder? Pick one. This is that type of asking question that you would get from Charlie Kirk. So I asked the same thing. I'll make sure to post that video a little bit later. But moving down here, let's go ahead and just get on with this. So basically what you have is Fishback now harassing and chasing after Downs whenever he can, either physically or maybe doing it online. But make no mistake here, these two guys are going to keep squaring off until someone gets what they're after. Now, it's gotten to the point to where Fishback has been told, hey, you're not invited. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find this. So there was a kickoff party here. Let me just go ahead and read the paragraph. The official event is hosted by the Republican Party of Florida. Again, this is a kickoff party of some sort, which describes it as the premier kickoff of Florida's 2026 statewide Republican debate. They confirmed that no gubernatorial debate would happen at the event. Although initially invited, Fishback is no longer welcomed at the event. Congressman Randy Fine pressing GOP officials to uninvite the candidate. So they have even come out themselves and said that it is sick and gross, the type of behavior that he has shown towards Byron Donalds. But what do you expect? When all else fails, if fact cannot be challenged, then racism is what will be falling back. So again, this is the title of the article. I'll most likely post it inside of the chat once I'm finished with the video and I'm done my editing. So just look for it. All right, so this goes back to 2025. Confederates whistle Dixie tunes and Black MAGA applauds. What the hell, right? Now, I've made this statement that if you have blacks who grow up in a Republican stronghold, they're not going to see any issue with what's transpiring around them because that is their way of life. This is what they know. Go to work, hey, Earl, whatever. Hey, come here for a minute. And then they'll actually walk over. This man has called him nigger. A white man has called this black man nigger. And it's like, oh, whatever, man. No big deal. But of course, we know that blacks make it worse by calling each other the term nigger as if it's a term of endearment. Call it for the black ignorance that it is. Black MAGA loyalists, many of whom cite values, religion, and personal ambition as their rationale, have essentially normalized the very racism that their grandparents fought to dismantle. And that is a goddamn shame. Now, this is coming from someone who was born 5 years after Jim Crow ended. I was born in 1970. And I can still remember days or so where when I was younger, I'd ask my mom, hey, can we go to this event that was downtown? No, we can't go. I can still remember wanting to go to a circus or something downtown. And my mother said, no, we can't go to it. Never really gave me a reason why. The year, I believe, was 1976. I would have been 6 years old. As I got older, It started making sense why there were certain places we wouldn't go or things we wouldn't do. So, for one of the things that I find still distressing, it's the fact again that you will have blacks who grew up in these strongholds who will sit here and damn near fight and defend anything about the lost cause narrative. We know this is what the South put out when they lost the Civil War. They started romanticizing the whole event. Oh, these young men were out here just trying to make sure there was a way of life that they fought for to ensure that their children had something to be proud of. And we have a heritage that we want to provide, our Southern heritage, not hate. Bullshit. It's a hateful heritage, has been and always will be. But of course, you're going to get folks who try and give it the whitewash and make you believe that the bigotry that the South stood for and that the rebel flag is and has always stood for is nothing more than Southern pride. So let's talk about here for a moment here when we look at Inauguration Day. Now, they're talking about the campaign that Donald Trump had, and Byron shows up at this. During the 2024 campaign, Trump's Madison Square Garden rally drew fire after a comedian on the lineup referred to Puerto Rico as garbage. I remember this. But that wasn't the only racist moment. As Florida Rep. Byron Donald, one of Trump's most visible black surrogates, walked onto the stage, the campaign blasted Dixie, a song revered by the Confederacy and white nationalists. Donald said nothing, and neither did the rest of Black MAGA. That same silence echoed in Springfield, Ohio, when Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, spread a false and racist claim that Haitian immigrants were eating cats and dogs. Remember when I asked the question, find the lie? Here we go. Fabrication was met with horror from civil rights advocates and journalists, but Trump's black supporters, not a word. And that's the thing I think that pisses me off most. Again, when I see this defense of the conservative party. We're speaking of family values, but yet they have no problem breaking up anybody else's family who is non-white. But yet we'll have the black conservative stand by. Now, this is just my words only right now, folks. But me personally, I don't see the value in trying to trust a black conservative because all you're doing is allowing a Trojan horse into your community. And literally, that's me. Now, we can be swell, maybe shoot a little ball, not that I shoot too much ball, maybe a little iron, grab a drink. But the minute something about politics enters the air, there's that separation. Again, how are you going to be pro-civil rights, but then turn around and vote for folks who are trying to abolish it? Doesn't make any damn sense, but yet there's still going to be some type of defense that comes from the black conservatives. If you grow up in a particular area of the world, there's an expectation. Or if you grow up in Europe or born in Europe, there is Christianity. Excuse me. If you're born in the Orient, there's Buddhism. If you're born in what they call the Middle East, which is a lie, the Middle East is actually Western Asia, but still, if you were born in Western Asia, then most likely your religion would be Islam. In Africa, there was African spirituality that came 3,000 years before a Bible was ever created or before a person of Jewish faith ever walked past the pyramids, which were already in decline when the first folks of Jewish faith were reported in history, as well as the Greeks. All this had already come to pass. And what you had was a religion, well, let me take that back, not a religion, but a movement of spirituality where anything and everything was given, we'll say, given its props. There's life to be spoken of in the wind, in the grass, in the water, in the skies. Everything was given reverence. Whereas when Christianity came along, what you had was the taking of African spirituality, having it chopped, screwed, mashed together, and presented back to the African continent. What was now being revered, instead of the elements around you, it was now an individual. But as we notice, when you start revering an individual, then you have a sense of nationalism that comes with it. And when you start having that sense of nationalism, that's when confrontation comes along. I've said this many times. Christianity is one of the most violent religions that existed. But because of the fact that it was able, it being Christianity, or the folks who began to practice it, were able to vanquish everyone else around them, it was all that was left in the European region and taken elsewhere. It's literally been normalized in our society that no one thinks about the misogyny, the chauvinism, of the racism. No one thinks about that because in everyone's mind, Christianity is good. The Bible is the truth. And fictional Jesus is everyone's shepherd. This is the one thing that white nationalists and extremists and white supremacists depend on. They use this as justification. As I said before, the Bible and Jesus were used as justification for the transatlantic slave trade. So I just shake my head every time I hear a Black person say, "Oh, thank you, Jesus, in your name." Different show. Fact of the matter is, again, we have Blacks who will sit here and watch negativity from the same people around them that are supposed to be their comrades, right? Their comrades in politics. So let me ask this question. Who is it that is building your community? Who is it that you are following in your community? For a generation of Black conservatives, Charlie Kirk built more than politics. He built community. What the F? Now remember, this is the same guy who said Blacks are rolling around trying to hurt white people. He's the same guy who said that, wow, if I see a Black poly, I think, oh, I hope he's qualified. The same guy who said that when he looked at 3 Black women who all had master's degrees, he thought of them as having no intelligence whatsoever. DEI jokes, didn't earn it. But yet, Black conservatives sit idly by saying Charlie Kirk built community. Now, this is not a photoshopped picture. This is an actual picture of a Black conservative wearing this hat. So let me just read you the supposed hardship it is to be a Black conservative. To be a Black conservative in America often means carrying a dual burden that is as social as it is political. Pew Research found that 83% of Black voters identify with or lean Democratic, while 12% align with the Republican Party. Faced with such a stark divide, families can fracture, friendships may fade, and communities sometimes close their doors. For thousands who found themselves drawn to Turning Point USA or Brexit, Kirk offered a sense of belonging, said the Black conservatives ABC News spoke with. Again, you cannot make this up. I don't need to. The information is right there for you. I want to read a couple more paragraphs. We're going to get along here because we're getting long on time. Blexit, short for Black Exit, which I mentioned earlier, is a group encouraging Black Americans to leave the Democratic Party and embrace conservative politics. Turning Point USA, again, remember now, I just showed you all the racism centered around Turning Point, but yet we got Black folks moving over to Blexit, which in turn takes the Turning Point. Kirk's flagship organization often partnered with Blexit to create platforms, events, and mentorship pipelines for young Black conservatives before later merging. In March 2023, Turning Point USA announced Turning Point USA will incorporate the corporate structure, leadership team, branding, social media, and the underlying mission of Brexit, helping grow the movement into the future. Now, forward 2 or 3 years, Candace Owens is not really associated as much as she was before with Turning Point USA. Not only is she not really associated with their actions, she has made the statement that none of what I just read ever came to fruition. So I don't know how much of that has changed. I don't know if it has or has not at this point, other than just being able to say that what we're reading right now did not happen. Take that for whatever it's worth. But again, I want you to look at the ridiculousness of this whole thing. Again, I've shown you the racism, but we're not done just yet. But Black conservatives still migrate and find themselves enveloped, rubbing elbows with conservative folks. How is this even possible, right? Even though you present the information to them, people have to still make their own choices. Again, I don't understand what good goddamn sense there is in partying and hanging out with folks who want to see you either at the end of a rope or out in the field doing the work. But again, that's just me. But then we keep going along here. Black MAGA supporters have made their peace with racists. The silence of Black MAGA supporters in the face of Trump's advanced bigotry during the campaign has carried over to the second Trump era. Now, I can just think about when you had Donald Trump talk about, yes, I'm supporting Black business. I want to see things grow. But then all of a sudden he turns around and shuts down the minority business development agency. I believe that's what it is, the minority business development agency. Gutted the whole operation. Tim Scott was supposed to be the champion of that. And this is Tim Scott the whole time Donald Trump was talking about pretty much getting rid of it. Is we gonna not have this service, sir? Literally just standing there watching Donald Trump trash everything that he had built up to Black business owners. And gone. During the 2024 election campaign, candidate Donald Trump's most controversial rally occurred in New York's Madison Square Garden. A comedian on the program referred to the island of Puerto Rico, and by implication, Puerto Ricans as garbage. He and the Trump campaign were rightfully pilloried and called out for his disgusting bigotry. So there's no need to repeat this, but again, we're just looking at more or less something that's being played over again and again with the theme of today's show. So let's go ahead and take a break here right now. Let me make it known, folks, if you haven't heard me say it before, if you joined for the first time, or if you're seeing this out in the chat. Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what we've got going on over here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do. Subscribe if this is what you're looking for. Now, also, if you look down here in the banner, I have got not only the title of today's show, but I finally got it off my tail and thrown out a cash app. So for those watching actively right now, all two of you, and possibly anyone looking at this in the replay, go ahead and show your boys some love. Drop a little change in here, folks. That's at the point in time that I need to go ahead and take some cash flow in so I can do a little bit more to spruce things up around here. And in doing so, you'll have my appreciation, but you also have effort coming back to you and growing the channel, right? So, continuing on. As I said, I don't see any use in following conservatism as a Black person. I don't, but for whatever reason, again, if you grew up in a certain region, you are going to adopt the practices. Again, if you grew up in Europe, most likely you're going to be a Christian. If you grew up in Western Asia, you're going to be a follower of Islam. If you grew up in the Far East, chances are you may be Buddhist. But when it comes to, again, dealing with Africans and Blacks, we have our own unique issue. Again, We had African spirituality in the beginning, which was corrupted and turned into Christianity. There are books that were entitled Christianity before. Let me do this. I got a stack up that I keep here. So you have Pagan Origins of the Christ by Dr. John T. Jackson. You also had works by Dr. John Henry Clark, The Color of Christ. You have other books entitled Christ Before Christianity. You have a lot of topics that discuss where the concept of Christianity came from. Christianity is nothing more than bastardized African spirituality. But people who do not study, do not pay attention to their history, don't know this. They just accept it for what it is and believe that it is the truth. I'll leave it right there. Let's get on with the show here. Now, this piece is what I really want folks to take a look at. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but there was a leakage of messages by the Young Republicans. I believe this group has disbanded since. But if Black Republicans weren't paying attention before, do you think they really were paying attention after this occurred? I Love Hitler. Leaked messages expose Young Republicans of racist chat. Thousands of private messages reveal young GOP leaders joking about gas chambers, slavery, and rape. Everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. When do we bring that sign up? Also, we are officially under consideration for a Trump endorsement. I'm ready to watch people burn now. Great. I love Hitler. You're giving nationals too much credit and expecting you to be honest. I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkey play ball. If we ever had a leak of this chat, we could be cooked for real, for real. Think? When do we start bullying dude? It was rape. He also hates the Jews. Boom, they're dead. They love the watermelon people. Stay in the closet. We know what he was saying. Now, when I was growing up, the word faggot was associated with a bunch of sticks. In the United Kingdom, that's where I believe the word was derived from. But we know what happened to the word when it came west. This girl is fully retarded. Now, this is everything, especially. They love watermelon people. Where are we here? They love the watermelon people, and I'll go to the zoo. I want to watch monkey play ball. But do you think Black conservatives said anything? Not a damn word. If anything, I recall watching Black conservatives showing their support. Oh, this is what happens when people start taking things out of context. Now, these folks, these are my friends. These are folks that I work with. This type of nonsense you see right here, this was just one small element. This is not the entire GOP. This is not our conservative movement. God damn it, yes it is. Forgive my language. Yes, it is your conservative party, because this was not one, but this was the first of, I believe, one or two more leaks of racist information. Because if you recall, J.D. Kirk, aka J.D. Vance, J.D. Kirk was going on TV saying, oh, these are just young kids having fun. Why are you going to ruin their lives over some harmless and edgy jokes? The problem was that some of these kids were 35 freaking years old. But as always, you'll have J.D. Vance try and explain it away. You're making it worse than what it is. Stop falling for this left-wing lunacy. I'm falling for the nonsense that came out of your kid's mouth that's captured in text. And again, all the article does here is just go through mentioning who these folks were who were part of the Young Republicans. Here you can see, Guinto was referring to an upcoming vote on whether he should become chair of the Young Republican National Federation, the GOP's 15,000 member political organization for Republicans between 18 and 40 years old. I'm going to create some of the greatest physiological torture methods known to man. We only want true believers, he continued. 2 members of the chat responded. Everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber, and everyone that endorsed but then votes for us is going to the gas chamber. When do we start bullying dude? We have a solid 3 people who can probably have them want to jump. If they want to vote for us, why would they be gassed? Why do we bring this side out? When do we bring that side out? I'm going to create some of the greatest physiological torture methods known to man. We don't want true believers. Can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic. I'm ready to watch people burn now. We got to pretend that we like it. Hey, come on. Hey, come on in. Take a nice shower and relax. Boom, they're dead. As I said before, these are the youths that come in through the Turning Point USA Gateway, slowly made their way over to the Young Republican Party, and then become full-on voting GOP conservative Republicans. But the Democratic Party is the party of the Klan. Saying that the Democratic Party founded the Ku Klux Klan is like saying the Republican Party is responsible for founding the Manosphere. Makes no damn sense, but people will still use that as an excuse. So, as soon as Trump won, you had black Republicans with their fists up in the air. Hey, yeah, our guy won. But remember now, this is everything that they were doing before that list I read earlier, right? Remember, everyone was celebrating the fact that, oh, Trump is going to bring business opportunities to black business owners. Trump is going to ensure that we are given a larger part of the pie in this administration. None of that happened. Absolutely none. But this is still what you saw from these black Republicans. Now, keep in mind, these are the same black Republicans right now who are pissed, upset, and paying a whole lot for their ground beef as well as their gas. However, I'll take that back. Right about now, we see the gas prices coming down. We see a lot of things coming down because Donald Trump realizes, or should I say his administration realizes, that they effed up with Project 2025. If you have never read Project 2025, nor have you seen any information regarding the Seven Mountains Mandate, you would not know that the Seven Mountains Mandate, a Christian extremist manifesto, was actually Project 2025. That's the best way to put it. The Seven Mountains Mandate was Project 2025. And it had been documented as holy snap. Everything that Project 2025 was talking about, it was majority, should I say, of it derived from, Seven Mountains Mandate. Rob, what's going on, man? You guys having storms? Sure, hold up for a second, Rob. If you're up here right now, give me a second. Stand by, folks. All right, yeah, man. It's over here almost 80. Well, I shouldn't say almost. It is 89, 90 degrees you can tell when the weather gets this humid that there's going to be some cut up, so to speak. Here, let me do this. All right, Rob. So if you want to swing up here for a minute, man, you can do so. I still got about maybe a good 15, 20 minutes. So if there's any commentary that you want to get in, swing through, man. We'll go ahead and do this. Storms have passed by, but we're still without power. All right, so as I was saying, folks, you've got these blacks with their hands up in the air celebrating Donald Trump, but as of right now, they're all regretting it. A good portion are regretting this. Oh, I won't have any more foreign wars. Gas prices won't go up. The economy will be great. None of that has transpired. But hey, Trump got what he wanted. He got your vote. So again, Black Republicans, don't be upset. This is all on you. Own it. So again, these are just old pictures we're looking at right now. We're looking at everything that people celebrated, said that, oh yes, I am with Trump. I stand with Trump. Here again, look at this picture. Look at this. Trump 2024, make America great again. The question you have to ask yourself now is, how great has this turned out for them? As I said before, there's nothing that irritates me more than listening to a Black conservative speak about civil rights, speak about progress made in Black culture, but then turn around and vote with people who are actively trying to take it away from us. And then infringe upon everyone else around as well. So you know what? We're at that point here. Let me go ahead and let me kill the music for a moment. All right, reason being, I want to again take us into a space here where we talk about in the the Black conservative mindset. Now, if you have listened to the Manosphere or any of the content, one of the things that you'll find mostly said about them is that because of feminism, manhood is suffering. Okay, no, that's a damn lie. Because if manhood was really suffering, will we not see the strife that we're watching and witnessing right now? Will we not see that? Here, just a second here. I do believe we have Jesus Saint Liquor ready to come to the stage. Entrez-vous. Saint Liquor, pour out a little bit, why don't you? What's going on?
What's up, John?
Hey, what's going on?
This is wild. I don't know. Maybe it's the vindictive part of me or something. I want to stick around long enough to see, to see the Black conservatives find out what they really asked for.
So is this what you're doing? You're giving them what they got, giving them what they want.
Yeah, it's
you're giving
wild,
them what
man.
they need.
Like, and even further than that, they out here celebrating the demise of Black people. It's the wildest thing in the world.
Please elaborate.
No, this the Carmelo Anthony stuff. Oh, goodness. Now I understand, accepting the verdict and everything, but celebrating, like, and then you got you got the Black women in the chat talking about he's the worst of us. And I'm like, how? That young man had no criminal record. He saved a white baby a couple years back, and he had a 3.7 GPA. So I'm like, how was he the worst?
Again, it's all when you look at where you're from. I mentioned this earlier that when you look at Blacks who are supporters of of the excuse me, I almost said the Confederate Party, but they might as well call it the Confederate Party. But if you look at Black conservatives, you have to look, and I believe we had this conversation before, where a person is from. And being where you're from, that normally will dictate what you believe in or what you follow. And so I have resigned myself to believing that when I see Black conservatives, to me, that means that you have come up in either a heavily Christian household or a heavily Christianized household that also is in a Republican stronghold. Now, people seem to forget when you have the solid states were pretty much the 11 states that seceded from the Union, which are the same 11 states which are responsible for a lot of the strife we have in government nowadays. The very exact same ones. So there should be no real surprise here. We talk about why we see issues with Black conservatism not having anything to say about racist comments made towards them from their own party members. That's pretty much where we are at the point now, Rob. So moving forward here, I think you and I have seen this many times before, but it always bears to show here for folks who have not seen this either in the chat or maybe our two folks in the comments. But as you know here, this is what I always tell folks that we need to look at the lies being told by our Black conservatives and the lies they keep telling that keeps Black folks who don't know any better from learning more. So as always, again, Rob, let me know if this is able to be heard by you, man.
Okay.
Let me do this first. You drop this down. Screen. And we've got no other audio out here, so it shouldn't really matter. Actually, let's not take that. Do this. Oh, should we kill him? Here are 6 lies that Black conservatives routinely tell other Blacks because we do not fact. Number one. Can you hear that, Rob?
Yeah, I can hear it.
All right. 79% of Planned Parenthood abortion clinics are in Black and Hispanic neighborhoods. This lie is demonstrably false. PolitiFact and the Guttmacher Institute both disprove this claim. Information will be provided. Number 2, Planned Parenthood clinics were put in Black neighborhoods to control the Black population. Let's not be surprised. This is false. On August 14, 2015, NPR News did a fact check of the statement by Ben Carson and found it to be false. Number 3, Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was a supporter of the Nazi Party. Don't be surprised if I tell you that this also is false. Once again, in the August 14, 2015 article written by NPR doing fact checks of Planned Parenthood, it showed that Margaret Sanger not only was not a supporter of the Nazi Party, but she was fully invested in the reproductive health of Blacks, as shown by her inclusion in the 1939 Negro Project. Number 4. Now here is the biggest lie out of all of this. The federal government kicked Black men out of the house to separate Black families. Come on, Black people. False. The man in the house rule was not a federal statute. However, to have it explained properly, it was a term used to describe policies adopted by some states that denied welfare benefits to families, primarily Black families, if a male resided in the household, regardless of whether he was in the role of the father or provider support. Now, funny enough, people don't know that the Social Security Act passed in 1935 by Franklin Delano Roosevelt was primarily for whites only. It wasn't until later that Blacks were allowed to be included under the program to allow poor families to have the benefit of assistance from the state. Furthermore, the man in the house rule was formally struck down by the Supreme Court in 1968. Now, even having done that, you still had welfare agencies who, based upon the decentralization of the Social Security Act, still operated in utilizing this particular unofficial statute more so against single black families, being a mother with children without a father in the house, as opposed to white families, being a single white mother without a father in the house. Number five, and here's another big one. The Republican and Democratic parties did not switch ideologies in the 1960s. This one right here is a sizable red flag false. The lie that the Republican and Democratic Party did not switch ideologies forms the foundation for which a lot of commentary from the Republican Party exists. In a nutshell, the changing of ideology between the Republican and Democratic parties started with the botched response of the 1927 Great Flood by Herbert Hoover, at the time who was the Secretary of Commerce before he was president in 1929. By losing the support of blacks in this particular incident, blacks first began moving towards the Democratic Party after the election of Herbert Hoover. Information will be provided in the link. In 1964, the Republican candidate for president, Barry Goldwater, voted against civil rights, therefore prompting Martin Luther King to have blacks vote for Lyndon Johnson. 6. The Southern strategy was a myth. Oh my gosh, y'all. False. Now, I've explained this aspect more than a few times, but we'll go ahead and do this one more again as per Britannica. The Southern strategy was, in the political history of the United States, a campaign strategy of the Republican Party, actively pursued from the 1960s, that initially sought to increase and preserve support from white voters in the South by subtly endorsing racial segregation, racial discrimination, and the disenfranchisement of black voters. The strategy has also involved directly promoting conservative views on immigration, taxes, social welfare programs, law enforcement, and states' rights. So it is mind numbing to hear Candace Owens and a few others make the statement that the Southern strategy was a myth. FYI, the Southern strategy was also utilized in getting Ronald Reagan into the White House in 1980. Look for the Lee Atwater response on the Southern strategy. So I'm going to leave you all with this fun fact. Out of the 6 lies that black conservatives tell other blacks, Candace Owens told 90% of these. Do with that information as you would. Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what we got going on over here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do. And subscribe. This is what you're looking for. Make sure you stay strong with your fact checking, folks. If you need any assistance, you know where I am. John Henry out. As I always will say, Rob, did I tell any lies?
No, you definitely ain't told no lies. And it's wild that they say that they didn't switch parties. Because you've heard of Jesse Helms, right?
Right.
I think he was a senator from North Carolina or something like that. So, and you've heard of Strom Thurmond,
Oh,
the
yep,
friend of
Strom
the Negro.
Thurmond.
They both were Democrats.
Yep,
And
they
they both
both
switched
started
over
out.
to the Republican Party. So, I mean, it's demonstrably false what Candace Owens said and what the black conservatives say in regards to that. It's pretty easy to debunk what they're saying. And in terms of the Southern strategy was the first thing that I thought of when I heard like some more information regarding them striking down that section, what was that, section 2 of the Voting Rights Act or whatever, the Supreme Court. So
Section 2, I thought it was section 3, but yeah.
the part that oh, you can fact check me. I'm sorry, I'm not near a computer, but the part that removed disparate impact and forced whoever was bringing the litigant, um whoever was bringing suit, it forced them to prove the intent of the other party. So with the Southern strategy, and this is my personal definition of the Southern strategy. The
Oh,
Southern
speak on.
strategy, the Southern strategy was a strategy whose purpose was to obfuscate um, racial language using ambiguous terms, right? So now you literally like what you had mentioned in your video. you got people cheering on the same policies that were intended to hurt black people. It's the wildest thing. So if you have as part of the Republican strategy for what's that, over 50 years now,
Mm-hmm.
where they've been perfecting the strategy of obfuscating, the coded language or whatever,
Yep.
the racist language. If they've been perfecting that ability to, to do that for all these years, it makes it even more difficult to prove intent. And intent is already a pretty difficult thing to prove in the first place. It's almost like you have to be like a telepath or something.
Yes. How am I knowing that you are intending for this to be the racial moment that it is by you saying, well, no, it's not that we still need this, because let's look at it right now. Racism has improved. We don't need this anymore. Wait, didn't you just not see that this guy literally called me the N-word and then said that N-words don't need to vote? If my vote was not so important, why do you spend your time trying to take it away from me? That
Right.
question is never asked too much.
And
You know what? Go ahead.
what, you know, what good, what good is a policy if the policy doesn't have a desired result? You see what I'm getting at? So, in other words, if if they have a policy that's ineffective or whatever, and it doesn't affect the black vote, it's like it's neutral to, like, for instance, the black vote in particular. Okay, fine. But if it hurts the black vote, there are two ways that it could be. It's possible that it could be unintentional or whatever, or it could be purposeful. Either way, the end result is the same. So it ends in discrimination against a particular group. The end result is the problem.
And the end
So
result is
basically,
not challenged by those folks who are in the same group of the people bringing it forward.
hmm and they cheering this thing on like it's a good thing. And see, the way that Clarence Thomas, the way he presents it, is like, oh yeah, I despise the fact that I had that people considered that I wasn't qualified, because of affirmative action, that he was a recipient of. So that was his angle. So he was like, well, you know, since it hurt me so bad, I want to remove that opportunity from other black people or whatever.
Oh,
And it,
yeah, that is duplicitous and disingenuous at the same time.
yeah, 100,000%. And I don't I don't know. I don't understand the concept of hurting your people because of your personal feelings. That doesn't make any sense to me. And he got his feelings hurt because he was a dark skinned guy. A lot of black people picked on him when he was younger. So I think he's getting his lick back.
Well, now remember, a lot of this stuff that why you say, why is he aligned and why does he act this way? Remember now, uh, he and everyone else believes in you. That's the common denominator. Your grace.
Yeah, he
Oh, okay.
absolutely. They act like they're doing it for the help people, and you hear the people that's like, oh yeah, the policies that end racism are racist. Oh boy.
Oh yeah. What I'll do before we get out of here, we'll probably takes about another 5 or 10 minutes or so. But before we get out of here, I had to do it, right? Since you brought it up. Oh, we got to show folks the Lee Atwater interview.
Oh yeah.
Got to put it on them. Fair use.
Here's how I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, now y'all aren't quoting me on this. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts your backfire. So you say stuff like force busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now. You're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things. And the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger, you know. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
Ooh, diabolical. You're talking about dog whistles. Dog whistles so well engineered that you got the people who was intended to hurt cheering for it.
That is the most ridiculous aspect of this. The folks who this was designed to hurt are now in your corner. Yeah, call me the N-word.
And it's like kind of like with the same the tragedy, and it showed itself up in that same case that I mentioned earlier. So I don't know if you know anything about that story, but he spoke to like the law enforcement without his parents or a lawyer present, right? And when we were small, we were taught how to deal with these type of things, right? So what I'm saying is, like, he was in the upper middle class neighborhood or whatever, and when blacks start moving into those areas and like moving up to the upper middle class and the upper class and all this other stuff, they start feeling like it erases their blackness or something to other people. Meanwhile, the other people still see them as being black. So he felt comfortable enough to talk to these people as if they were his friends. And he thought that he had a friend under the tent too. It's the wildest thing.
There was a joke that it was from a book called Truly Tasteless Jokes. And I'm sure that you've heard it. A lot of people have heard it, but it's simply something that you just never allow, or forget who you are and where you're from. And the joke goes, what do you call a black man who has a doctorate degree, is well established in the community, and owns a big house?
What's that?
You call him a nigga.
Yeah.
That was the joke. And as tasty as it was, I realized there was still fact in this. It was a tasteless joke, but at the same time, it was also reality. No matter what you may do, that is how you are always going to be perceived. And I said before, I mentioned this, that with the transatlantic slave trade, the idea of depicting Africans as being lacking of civility, of culture, of history, was the justification in and of the slave trade itself. And even now, you still see this as a depiction. I had someone who got upset with me the other day. And matter of fact, it was that post. He said, "Hey, John, can I have your car?" You remember that kid who called himself Joey the Bull? Remember that post? Really. All right, so you put in the post, "Hey, John, let me have your car." See, this is one of the...
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, so dude, he's a grade A loser. And then when I respond to him, he comes back and says, "Well, you clearly, this is nothing more than word salad. Nothing you said made sense." And I said, you know what? Word salad is generally something that comes back from folks who don't have an understanding of what's being said. And I pretty much, for the most part, said, go finish your vegetables. And the reason I told him to go finish his vegetables, because as I also called him, I said, "Hey, Peter Cottontail, there's more in the garden," or something along those lines. But again, he's acting like you would expect someone who can't undermine the facts or the arguments? Word salad. Everything becomes. Now, think about this the next time you go into those white supremacist chat rooms. Anything that you say against what they have to say that can be proven as being a lie, something that you can discredit, they're going to say that you're speaking nothing more than word salad or call you the N word. It's going to be one of the two. And this is where I say that this is where they are, and I quote, kirking out. Yep, because of Charlie Kirk's lies, they get upset. Hey, don't kirk out on me now.
Yeah, I know they don't like that.
Oh, no. And dare I even say that the problem with Charlie Kirk is, and this is something that occurred to me the other day, I don't know if it was somewhere I saw, but do you remember that song by Cameo, Talking Out the Side of Your Neck?
Yeah.
And I immediately thought of Charlie Kirk. Shame, right? Shame on me. But
yeah, it's pretty bad, John. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I apologize, but what can you expect a thought to come across your head like that when you let some beer belly, trash talking guy in a bandana call the former first lady a man?
Yeah, that's.
And where were black conservatives on that one?
Oh, they probably
Again,
were laughing with it. What laughing with
yep.
them?
Where were the black conservatives on that? Well, you know she does have big hands. Stop this nonsense.
Yeah, it's kind of disheartening to see all the people that are like, you know, that are like kind of that are falling for this stuff. It's like people don't want to think for themselves. And you know, even the stuff that you disagree with me about, you have to give me credit for one thing. I reach my conclusions on my own. I don't go off of nobody else's talking points. I put together the information and I reach my conclusion.
All you can do is shake your head and you're wondering where all this comes from, where it stems from. But as I said before, if you grew up in a community that is a stronghold for this type of lie, for this type of foolishness, for this type of conversation that undermines your own, you're at the point to where you can't really do anything. You can't save everybody. So that being said, again, I put this back on black conservatives. Let's go ahead and finish up this last bit. All right, so we don't have any more audio. So go full screen again. So do you remember this time last year? I want to say it was probably June, July, where Donald Trump had gotten himself in trouble again because of removing Black history, anything having to do with Black history, claiming it's DEI, and that it is undermining the concept of American value. Do you remember the Philadelphia, I think they call it the President's House?
Yeah.
Where they were taking the panels off?
Yeah.
So at that point in time when this was happening, I remember the judge jumping in this lawyer's ass with both feet because this dude made the statement, and I quote, I'm close enough here. I'm quoting while paraphrasing. Donald Trump has the right to determine what is and is not history. Do you recall reading that article?
I think I might have seen the headline. Yeah.
So I typed this in here. Lawyer claims Trump can define what is and is not history, plus the Philadelphia slave exhibit. Federal lawyers argued in court that the Trump administration has absolute authority over national park exhibits. This claim arose during a legal battle regarding an executive order to remove art content that the administration argued disparaged America. The government's stance has sparked major controversy. Now, there was additional information that went on about this. There was an executive order, of course, that he put out. President Trump signed an order directing the Department of the Interior to remove exhibits deemed to present a false reconstruction of American history or inappropriately disparage the United States or its founders. Do you hear this?
Yeah. You know what? I did read some of this stuff.
The audacity. And let me go ahead and see if I can find, just a second, let me find the pictures. Okay, here we go. There's picture one. All right, so here, can you see the pictures?
Yeah, I can see them.
Right, so these are just, well, this is just a sample of the pictures that are up on the wall. So I believe this is what they've been told they need to put back, but this is what was taken down. Now here is the same spot, but this is what it looked like after Trump and these folks got their way to take it down. Literally went in with crowbars and stripped it off the wall.
Oh, that's wild.
All right, so again, looking at this. All right, let me just put this back up here. Making the statement that this is disparaging to America's history. Right, that is Reconstruction or revisionist history. Now, this is fact. But again, to quote this nonsense, all right, to quote this nonsense one more time, the President Trump signed an order directing the Department of the Interior to remove exhibits deemed to present a false reconstruction of American history or inappropriately disparage the United States or its founders. Now, that in itself is a lie. But the reason that they were able to do this is because I'm not going to put this all on Black conservatives. I will put this on Black conservatives to sit here and be quiet and not be vocal against what is happening. Because again, if you are for civil rights, why would you let someone do this to your history? Sat by and like Tim Scott when Donald Trump dismantled the Minority Business Development Agency.
Yeah, that was supposed to be in his legacy.
I said the exact same thing.
You let another man destroy your legacy, and it's a big thing with people in at those levels of power, and you just stood there. You talking about somebody that don't have any nuts?
Zero whatsoever.
And another thing too. What do you do to people that you love? Do you lie to them? Do you lie about them? No, you tell them the truth. If you have to lie to somebody, I argue that you don't even really love them.
One of the lines that I used to mess around with when I was young and I was dating, I'd say, "Hey, girl, look, I can either tell you a pretty lie or I can give you the ugly truth."
Right on, John. Right on.
Oh, I can give a pretty lie or an ugly truth. Now, I've grown out of that, but still, those are things that I would use for the most part.
Yeah, and that always worked for me. Just look, whenever I approach a woman, I tell her what I actually think. It doesn't have anything to do with like me trying to get in her pants or none of that stuff. I've never believed in game or none of that. I believe, like I've always believed, like in being honest with women, whether they gave me the box or not. You know what I'm saying? Because that's never been my end objective.
And the end objective right now is more or less that you can give me all your votes, you can stand here with me, but in the end, hey, you got to go like everybody else. Remember when Myron was clowning around with these white supremacists a couple of years ago, where they were using the N-word and everything, and they started talking about who need to leave. I think they got to the point of talking about the Great Replacement theory. And Myron was talking about, yeah, they need to get these folks out of here. He said, yeah, and I'm sorry, man, but you got to go too. Because again, this is going to be an all-white nation, and I appreciate your help, but you can't be here. And the conversation switched just like that. Myron forgot his place. Yes, you can come out here, you can help, you can be the emotional support animal for conservatives, but in the end, when they don't need you, they put you down. Also, Bobby, my bad man, we didn't see this earlier. He stated, you are conservative. You're not black. Nothing kin to me. Yeah, and that goes in play with what we're saying here.
Yep.
Falls right in line with it. Oh, here was something else that came with that, but we don't really have to go over this because, again, this is just more or less going into the court, talking about how Donald Trump had taken it upon himself to remove the memorial, and that the court had told him, you need to put this back. You need to establish this until everything played out in court. Now, this is the part where I wanted to take a break here and show people what to do to verify their facts. Now, I started doing this about a year and some change ago, before you and I met online over at Fatty Spot. So
Yeah.
what I used to do, Rob, is that I would go back and I would pick certain websites and I would go through three different ways of gauging or fact checking the information. So for right now, I'm just going to stick with this here because we're over the 10 to 15, we're over the 20 minutes I talked about, but I think we're going to shut this down in 2 hours or sooner here. But this is called media bias. And what media bias fact check does is it goes out and it looks at news sites and verifies whether or not the information that's being provided is accurate. So it is going to give credence to factual information, but it's also going to call you out on the carpet if your information is trash. So, I'm just going to start right at the top here, Fox News. So what does media bias have to say?
Fair and balanced.
And this is the factual reporting meter. Very high, mostly factual, mixed, low, and very low.
How
And you can
about
see
that?
here, oh, anyone shocked? Fox News is sitting right here with the extreme side. A questionable source exhibits one or more of the following: extreme bias, consistent promotion of propaganda, conspiracies, poor or no sourcing to credible information, a complete lack of transparency, and or is fake news. Fake news is the deliberate attempt to publish hoaxes and or disinformation for profit or influence. Sources listed in the questionable category may be very untrustworthy and should be fact checked on a per article basis. Please note, sources on this list are not considered fake news unless specifically written in the reasoning section for that source. And they have other sections down below. See, it wasn't all this crap a few years ago when I found these guys, but yeah, everyone's got to advertise. But based upon this, if we go to the detailed report, as he said, this is questionable reasoning and highlighted in red: conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, state propaganda, poor sources, numerous failed fact checks. But here is what you want to look at the very bottom here: low credibility. Now remember, as you just said, fair and balanced news. But if you go further down here, they also keep a section that lets you know who funds it. They give a quick analysis. But the best part is they speak about the biases. They speak of your failed fact checks. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you have false, and you have some that even go up to pants on fire, as well as mostly false. So again, look at some of the topics here. Mary Ivanovich is dishonest when she claims she never personally responded to an email from a Democratic staffer. Biden's climate requirements. Clinton campaign paid to infiltrate Trump Tower. So this is what we would typically expect of Fox News, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing shocking here, nothing to see here. Oh, excuse me. So if we go ahead and we take this back, what if we go to, we'll say MS Now. So remember, now they are left-leaning. So if you take a look, now we've gone over to the left side of the spectrum. Now, where you want to be is least biased. This is the perfect spot to be, or at best, left of center or right of center. So now we see that we've gone up a bit. We've gone to mixed. So these media sources are moderately to strongly biased towards liberal progressive causes through story selection and or political affiliation. They may utilize strong loaded wording that attempts to influence an audience by using appeal to emotion or stereotypes, publish misleading reports, and omit information reporting that may damage liberal progressive causes. Some sources in this category may be untrustworthy. Overall, if we take a look at it, we see that it's a mixed bag here, and the credibility is medium. But the place to go to, as always, you want to run down and see what do we have as far as failed fact checks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 2 less, but still you have failed fact checks. Now, the best place that you want to be, if possible, is no fact checks. Failed. All right, so let's go ahead and take it back to the top. That's MS now. Ooh, I know. How about Newsmax?
The most credible. Incredible. No, I'm sorry. News least.
Boom.
Ooh.
Same thing. Sitting on low. Questionable resource. And the exact same thing you saw from Fox News. Conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, propaganda, fake news. Ultimately, we're talking low credibility. Oh, take a look at the meter there. You see it's going from 1 to 0, went from 4 down to 0 to 1. So as I said before, when you start putting these facts out here, folks who aren't for that, they roll out on you. Look, going back to 0 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 failed fact checks. But again, this is where people are getting their news from, and this is where you see most Black conservatives take their news from Newsmax, from Fox News. But let's not forget, what is that? One American News. I want to say, yeah. Do you ever watch One American News, Rob?
No, I never watched it.
Oh, they're just as. If anything, I don't know what's worse. One American News.
Oh man. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it before. I didn't know what the acronym was.
Yeah, OAN. Same thing. Look at this. Sitting right on the tip of extreme, questionable, and you know what it is. Same thing. Low credibility. We zip down to the bottom. Oh shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now they beat Newsmax by 2. They have 14 failed fact checks.
I know who you can trust. Breitbart. That's who you can trust.
You know what? Since you brought it up, all right. Hey, again, we're looking at right-wing news sources. Don't be mad at me. Facts don't choose sides, or should I say, people choose sides. Facts don't. I think it's right. Yeah, Breitbart.
Yeah.
Oh, and there you go. Even though they have hit right on extreme, they went that extra mile, but they got mixed. But more or less, they're mixed to the point of still being questionable. Extreme right, propaganda, conspiracy, failed fact checks. So this is where Steve Bannon came from before he went to the White House for a little while. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. 10 as far as failed facts. Oh, come on now. Really? This is news. This is reliability.
That's the upper echelon of American news.
So how about CNN? Boom. There it is. Our first one. We've got left center. These media sources have a slight to moderate liberal bias. They often publish factual information that utilizes loaded words, or that attempts to influence an audience by appeals to emotional stereotypes to favor liberal causes. These sources are generally trustworthy for information, but may require further investigation. So we go down and take a look for failed fact checks. What do we have? Just 2. All right, so we're seeing where there's more credibility, but they still failed. But there's one that's false and corrected, and then we have low scientific credibility. What are you talking about? Global warming. Greenland's ice sheet is melted to a point of no. Okay, so we're talking about global warming to a degree. So we have 2 less here. But let me go ahead and just end this particular segment, and let me go to where you want to have your truth always told. Who can you think of right now, Rob, that is probably one of the most trusted sources when it comes to news.
What's that? The Daily Stormer, I think it's called.
Ah ha ha. Not even gonna go with you. C-SPAN. And look at that. That's where you want to be. My man, right in the center, least biased. And look at that. Nothing
How
left.
about NPR?
Right? You what?
NPR. NPR.
Oh, November Papa Romeo. Okay, yeah, we'll do that one next.
Oh,
and notice, no failed fact checks. But still, since you brought it up, NPR. Boom. There we go again. High. Some left center bias, but still a little bit to left center. Still high, but high credibility. What do we have for any failed fact checks? Just one. So again, I would encourage anyone who is going to do any fact checking to at least use media bias fact check. And I think what I may end up doing, I may do another video that's going to focus on fact checking and again showing people how to go about it because I think that's needed again. Or if anything, I may go ahead and just republish one of my older videos. All right, so here's a statement here that I recall. This is old. We're going back 10 years. Is there empirical evidence stating 20% of Republicans believe freeing slaves was a mistake? And I put in, is it still something discussed in 2025? Yes, it is still discussed. But if you want to know where the original concept notion of this came from, I'm talking almost 10 years ago. Yes, the empirical evidence for this statistic comes from a widely cited economist YouGov poll conducted in January 2016. And you have people who say that freeing the slaves was a mistake. But again, your black conservative Trump voting friend, they still will choose to congregate with people who would love to see them in chains.
Yeah. And they literally, and a lot of those guys are getting super chats from literal white supremacists too. Like I said, I know because I be in those spaces.
One of these days, I may have to ride shotgun with you over there to see some of this nonsense.
Yeah, it'd be a good time.
All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and get this plane landed. So this goes back to the Minority Business Development Agency, the conversation we talked about previously. Trump campaign promises to grow black business in 2025. Now we know that was a lie. All he wanted to do was to get our votes so he could vanquish it like everything else. President Trump's campaign promises to grow black business were anchored in his platinum plan, which pledged $500 billion in access to capital, the creation of 500,000 new black-owned businesses, and federal investment in minority business programs. And this was back in when he was trying to run in 2020 and he lost to Joe Biden. I ask anyone, instead of asking the question, who won the 2020 presidential election, I said instead, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 presidential election? That easy. Ask that question and let's see how they still dance around it. Anyhow, however, since taking office in 2025, his administration's implementation of these promises has been heavily criticized and met with challenges. The approach has shifted away from race-conscious support toward broad economic policies and deregulation, accompanied by the active dismantling of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, Rob, do you remember what my acronym for DEI is?
Oh, no, I don't.
Division, extortion, and intimidation.
Yep. And like I tell the white supremacists often, you know, the DEI help white men. It literally help white men too. Because, you know, veterans are included in DEI. What's the appropriate acronym DEIA. It's
DEI,
including
diversity, equity, and inclusion. But again, all that we got out of this DEI translated to black. Somehow it translated to black. Now, keeping with this, something else I typed in. Trump administration disbanded the Minority Business Development Agency. And the answer is yes. The Trump administration took steps to dismantle the Minority Business Development Agency. Again, after Tim Scott said, oh, this is going to be great. You know, I got to get the teeth out. Oh, this is going to be great. This is something that President Trump is doing. I love him. I love that. I just love Donald Trump. And he's doing what he can for us.
Yeah,
teeth out and all this nonsense. Then, of course, this is him. No teeth was showing that moment. Not a tooth assist was out. But let's go for the win. Let's go for the judgment. The Minority Business Development Agency is functionally gutted and non-operational as of June 2026. The Trump administration canceled federal grants for its local business centers, reassigned or terminated nearly all career staff, and stopped making new program awards. Again, where were the black conservatives on this, right?
Cheering it on. Because, you know, there's a lot of money in those programs. And, you know, they had the programs at the state level, too, where you can register as a minority business owner.
Yep.
A lot of money.
All that money was shut down. Here we go. Look at this. I'll stop it right about here. Business centers. The nationwide network of MBDA-funded business centers, which provided specialized consulting and capital readiness programs, has effectively had its cooperative agreements severed. So when people ask me, John, how's your business doing nowadays? I tell them I'm not doing anything for the most part. I'm almost mothballed. I just had a guy who went out, my chief financial officer, since I'm having to work for somebody else right now, she's got the stick at the moment. She sent one of my guys that I know out to do some work. And that's the last work that the company has had because of what Donald Trump has done after saying that, hey, we're going to do more for minority businesses. He brought everybody in. As soon as he got their votes, we're not doing a damn thing. And this has been the outcome.
Yeah. And, you know, you would think that the black conservatives would be at the very least, pro-business, at least.
Not a thing that you are hearing from this. But before we get out here, man, let me do this last. You didn't get a chance to see this. I want to bring this back up just so you can see it before we bounce. Where did I put it? Go. All right, so this is what I call find the lie. So I did this at the beginning of the show. So this is where I took 30 of the points that we saw some from the first Trump administration, but majority is from the second Trump administration. Now just take a quick glance over this, all right? Tell me if there's a lie here. Declare Black history racist. Black history was divisive. Declare Black history revisionist. Rescinded funding for DEI initiatives. Take a look at this. You know, scan. You can scan faster than I can read, but do you see any lies here?
No, I don't see any lies there.
All right. Here's the second page. Once again, do you see any lies?
Nope. And see that one at the top. That's the one I'm shocked the most about because it's a lot of veterans in that black conservative side too. Boy.
I say again, where are they, right? Not raising the fuss. Yeah. MIA, missing in action. Miss me with this old bullshit. All right, man. Well, we're capping out right at the 2 hour mark here. So, Rob, hey, thanks for getting in. I heard that blast of thunder just a minute ago. So it must be getting down where you are.
Yeah, it's still around, so it's probably gonna take them. It's gonna be a little while before it's safe for the crews to come out. So
You sitting in the dark with candles right now.
yeah, I don't have any candles now. So
what's the only light that you have right now? Your phone?
yeah.
Oh, well, let me get off of here, man, so you're not sitting in complete darkness. So, do you have any closing commentary here, Matt?
Well, I mean, like the same thing I said about the state of North Carolina. You remember the thing I talked to you about? It was a while ago about the change in like the way that they changed the tax thing. So the marginal tax rate, the top marginal tax rate here used to be 5.75%. They lowered it to 5.15%. I'm not sure exactly what it is now, but it had the effect of of raising taxes on everybody that was below 5.15%, which was most of the population, and it had the opposite effect with people above 5.15%. So essentially, most of the population got their taxes increased, and the top earners got their taxes decreased at the expense of the people, the majority of taxpayers in North Carolina. The population of North Carolina voted for it. They voted for this. They got exactly what they asked for. It's the same thing I say about like black conservatives.
Which is you got what you voted for?
Yep.
Indubitably. Well, the last thing I can add to this again is that it's a contradiction as a black conservative to be for black initiatives, but then turn around and vote against those with the same party that's trying to take it away from you.
Yeah, and these people got plans. They got people in their ranks that are that one of them said the quiet part out loud. He said, "I can't wait for the Supreme Court to get rid of the 14th Amendment." He said it. So, you know, they're going after those amendments that came out. What's that? What was that during Reconstruction?
Oh yeah, the Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th, the 14th, and
14th and the 15th. Yep, and they're going after the 19th Amendment. So, what's going to happen when they get rid of like the birthright citizenship? Because you know that's before the Supreme Court now.
So that's that in and of itself is what I'm talking about. I think one of the next shows, the next 2 or 3 shows, is going to be the 7 Mountains Mandate. We talked about this for almost 7, 8 months. It's time to go ahead and do this. So we'll cover some of this stuff inside of that because, again, a lot of what's happening right now in the government is because of the fact that the 7 Mountains Mandate was more or less shoehorned inside of Project 2025. So they're both indistinguishable. So yeah. Project 2025 is the 7 Mountains Mandate. But again, looking at that, we'll have that discussion in one of the upcoming shows here, the next 2 or 3 shows. But as of right now, understand that, again, black conservatives, you got what you voted for. Don't act as if you are brand new. You've seen the racism, you've seen the bigotry, but you stand idly by. And what do? Nothing. All right. So again, for anyone who's watching this in the chat, because we lost anyone who was watching live here. So Jesus, Saint Liquor, and myself are going to take it out here. So for the last thing I will say, find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what we've got going on over here. If you like it, let us know. Share if you do. Subscribe. This is what you're looking for. Jesus, Saint Liquor, and John Henry, thanks for watching. We out.
Peace.